Do you ever remember the boring assignments back in school? Well, in this project, we make creative, engaging alternatives. Today's assignment: make a new species. It could be an animal, plant, or microorganism. You should give details on the species' habitat, diet, and role in the ecosystem. The role in the current ecosystem is the most important. You should consider what it will eat, what it will be eaten by, and do your best to balance the ecosystem so that it will coexist with existing wildlife. You should consider a slideshow PowerPoint to present on this.
Trouble if we lived in California.
Why?
You recorded us without our consent.
But you can do that in public.
Would you press charges, Dylan? Tell me you're going to press charges against Max.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
And pay the lawyer with what money?
Yeah, we haven't want money.
Wait, where do I go to?
I would take out a loan to pay them.
Where do I go to share the screen? Hang on. Where do I go to
credit card debt?
Welcome to this month's meeting of the United Nations Council of Biology and Defense. My name is Representative Duenig, and today we're going to be going over a situation which we have, as a global community, have found ourselves in that we are figuring out ways to address. All right, so on our agenda this evening, we're going to be going over the introduction, the discovery, organism, the biological features, the global spread, interactions with us, and ethical dilemmas, and we'll go over a conclusion. And then I'll take questions after the fact. So, it is believed that we have discovered a new species of human for the first time in possibly 100,000 years, ever since Homo erectus went extinct, and they've been dubbed the Homosupra for Homo human and Supra for super. Basically, it appears as if this version of human is seemingly advanced in almost every capacity, but we'll get into the finer details in a little bit. A good way to analogize this is how we are sort of a little bit more advanced than the Homo erectus. The Homo supra is that same level advanced than us. There's a lot to discuss in the global community on what's to be done, if anything at all. That is just a bullet filler. So, discovery. There have been legends of this being, going back, of course, for thousands of years, but just like every other legend, not taken super seriously until about 3 to 4 years ago when video legit sightings have been documented in Western Kazakhstan. So notable examples of what we believe the origins of this organism to be tied to come from the Nephilim from Genesis in the Bible, or possibly Bigfoot, but that is a little bit of a harder connection to tie up. And then confirmed that these beings do exist was about 3 months ago in Turkey. However, I didn't have enough data to collect until this evening with you. So biological features. The most notable feature of the Homo supra is their immense size in comparison to the rest of us. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to be referring to them as the supra and us more regular humans as the sapiens. Sapiens supra, hopefully you get it. So obviously they're usually on average about 9 feet tall, except the females are, of course, just like we are, a little bit smaller, so you can see a comparison size there on the left. They have been shown to have extra appendages, including 2 extra arms underneath the armpits. Not sure how that necessarily evolved, but that's sort of what we're working with here. Distant observations have shown that they possess eyesight close to the level of falcon, hearing close to a barn owl, and the smell of a bloodhound. Hyperintelligence has been theorized about, although that's a little bit difficult to sort of pin down exactly to what capacity that they do have. The one weakness they do appear to have is a much smaller number of population. It only appears to be a couple thousand from what we've been able to gather in the global community, and a good part of that is because they don't appear to have proper reproduction ability, so that has hampered their ability to grow as a population. So this map shows us pretty much every spot for which they've been sighted, whereas the majority of the colonies have been possessed in the Central Asian region and the Indian plate and the Middle Eastern area. Where they emerge from exactly, I should go back, is a little bit unclear. Some form of hibernation deep down below the earth has been theorized as currently what we believe had taken place over the past 6,000 years or so. Interaction with us. So this is something which is a little bit more sociological based. In areas where the supras have been basically known to have colonies, they approach the civilian population speaking their native tongue seemingly flawlessly, which is a point of evidence towards hyperintelligence. And interviews with the people who have encountered these supras make it sound like we're almost being studied and don't seem to interact like on a more personal basis. It's more like questions and answered and studying our movements. The supras have never approached any kind of what people that we would classify of high importance to basically study this phenomenon further. That includes law enforcement, scientists, leaders, the press, etc. And any time that us as the leaders have attempted to reach out or make contact, it has been completely unsuccessful. Anytime that they appear to be interacting with civilian population, anytime any form of press or seemingly law enforcement approaches, they vanish almost into thin air. With that said, it's believed that they have encampments in incredibly remote and hard to pinpoint locations because of the fact that we're not able to. We basically can only track them down whenever sightings occur, or they actually talk to the civilian population. There has been a very odd phenomenon of a cult starting among basically our regular global population, believing that us, the sapiens, should cease to exist and hand over ownership of the planet to the supras. Rumors have circulated of incredibly short supras infiltrating the civilian population, as to go so far as live among us and then seduce some form for reproductive purposes. So that is definitely a hard point that we need to take into serious consideration. Ethical dilemmas. The supras are believed to be fully human, just on a super advanced level, so the same sorts of rights we believe as a global community ought to extend to them, but the fact that we've not really been able to make official contact is problematic. Drone footage has shown immense situational awareness to show that they're being watched, and we've had a concerning amount of an increase in cemetery desecration and missing persons casings basically correlated with the same areas for which large colonies have been spotted. Discussions have been had among the global community on what to do about this phenomenon, if any kind of diplomatic or military action can be made. We've made reaches out on diplomatic terms so far, but nothing has been successful so far. There is, like I've said, the cult approach, for which they believe that we ought to stop reproducing and let them take over the planet. There is the leave them be approach. There's military intervention for aggressive questioning and interrogation, since apparently they can speak our language super well. And then work to cooperate a distinct territory for them, but again, there has been no success with any form of diplomatic cooperation. And then some of the more aggressive folks in our department and our council tonight advocate for more aggressive tactics to address this issue. In conclusion, there must be drastic action to take in some kind of peace agreement, or to take action to suppress their continual spread. Obviously, the correct answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Tonight we've gone over our introduction, discovery, biological features, global spread, interactions with us, ethical dilemmas, and conclusion. That concludes my briefing. Are there any questions? Whew. All right.
Yes, can you please go back 2 slides?
2 slides. Yes, that was the question.
Yes, that was.
Okay.
Sir Dubnik, I am the representative of the United States, and
Yes.
I come with some specific questions.
Go
So
for it.
it seems that you refer to these as potentially being the Nephilim. However, representatives of my country would like to point out that the Egyptians have been making statues of ginormous people for a long time. The first question that comes to one's mind is, how the heck were the Egyptians so tall? Because their statues are so tall. And so potentially there's an even farther back discovery of the Homosupra, dating back to Egyptian times.
Homosupra. So at this time, that is effectively the same level of archaeological speculation, that the same thing that we had for the current model of the Homosupra prior than 5 years ago. It's technically possible, but given that we don't show archaeological evidence for either, the fact that these guys have popped up basically out of nowhere show us that they are in fact real. And also regarding the Nephilim, the connection that I was basically pointing to there was that is where the legend likely originated, not necessarily that they are the Nephilim, although it is possible that that is the case too. I don't know if that answers your question, sir.
Gotcha. Yes, it does. And then another question is, there's a claim from your organization stating that they have eyes of a falcon and ears of a barn owl. I'm assuming that there was some kind of test of where we put a barn owl and a Homo supra next to each other to see who could hear the tiniest bell, and it seems that the owl did not pick up. And I also assumed that that they also lifted a Homo supra to the height of a falcon to spot rodents, and the Homo supra were like, aha, there it is.
It was more about.
I would like to.
We did not. You're asking about how we came across those observations. Yes, as drone spotters sought to seek out their colonies deep into the mountains, we were able to tell the basic approximate location of the drone with respect to the location of the Supra. Right. So, given that the drone was several kilometers into the sky, a naked human eye would not be able to spot the drone. However, only the sight of a falcon would be able to identify that. And as soon as, of course, we were over their territory, we could see responses of them looking up, pointing directly to us. That covers the sight issue. And then there have been tests made as soon as we were basically able to pinpoint exactly where they were. Basically, similar noises were made by a nearby military convoy, not for the sake of necessarily interacting with them, but they clearly responded in the exact same time. It was seemingly a distance that only a barn owl would have been able to hear. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yes, and I'm assuming that we're ruling out the possibility of the Homo supra having pet barn owls alerting them of these
Yes,
sounds.
we are ruling out that possibility given that we...
Okay, and we also have to rule out the possibility that they have pet falcons seeing the skies for them.
We have not seen evidence of that, given that we have really high quality footage of them from kilometers above.
Another question. Sorry, I'm hogging up all the questions.
No, it's good. I love it.
Now I'm representing the country of India. Have
Okay.
we considered the
sound exactly
possibility
the
that
same.
this? Oh, hello, Senor Dubnik. I have a question pertaining to my country of India. It seems that perhaps the multitude of arms could signify it is an incarnation of one of our deities, like Shiva or Krishna. Uh, and it having multiple arms. I would like to ask: do we have any visuals pertaining to multiple head or multiple feet or?
No, there have been none so far.
I too would like to ask about multiple feet.
There have been no sightings. I don't think that. I think I should have. Yeah, we definitely have clear pictures of basically every single instance that we have of a Supra, and we've never seen any instances of multiple heads or multiple feet. It has only been basically two pairs of arms, and then possibly in some instances they've only had two arms. We believe that those are surrounding specific circumstances, specifically surrounding integrating into sapient society undercover.
So are you suggesting the point that they might have the ability to undo their multiple arms?
Yes, through amputation.
Understood. Thank you for your time.
My name is Brian, delegate of the Moon. I have a question. These guys seem to resemble forearms from Ben 10. Is there any relation there?
Let's take a look. Oh, you're right, it does. I am not familiar with the character. However, in popular media, we do understand that characters of almost every kind of iteration of modification of human is likely to come up. So, as far as I understand, there is no connection. However, you're right about the similarity.
Well, so as the delegate of the Moon, we're certain that I guess the point that I'm trying to get to here is: are we sure that these are not some sort of alien creatures? How can we be certain that they are
So
evolved
at this
humans?
time, we have not been able to acquire a DNA sample. This has been posited around. However, it is believed that given that they have only been spotted on Earth, seemingly have emerged from the Earth, that they must be related to us in some way, shape, or form. Some of our tinfoil hat audience, for lack of a better term, have speculated that this is a race that actually comes from the future and seemingly appears to be having some business here and from their perspective the past. So that would be the closest running theory according to anything that regards something supernatural. It's not believed at this time that they have extraterrestrial origins, given that the Fermi paradox is still basically in play.
What about with their ties to the Nephilim?
Basically,
are those not descended from angels, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
which
so
could be aliens, and so they could be part human, part alien?
We don't believe that is if the Nephilim legend is true, that would, if all of Genesis is true in that sense, that would be the case. However, we are looking at aliens aren't exactly extraterrestrial. They're more like extra universal, if that makes sense. Supernatural, I believe is the term. Supernatural in origin. So
I see.
But its current archaeologists and theological specialists have identified the Nephilim basically being a legendary reincarnation of interactions with the Supra. Not necessarily that they are the Nephilim themselves.
Yes,
Right?
I have another question.
Yes.
As Austin Pickens, of representative of India,
Yes.
I would like to state, we're trying to be calm, but I asked my assistant ChatGPT that Shiva and Vishnu both have four arms.
Yes.
This might.
Are you
be
becoming
kind of
British?
shocking.
They did colonize
Part of
India.
British
They
Raj.
did colonize India.
So there are some hints of British
Yes.
accents in there.
Shut
Yes, Mr.
up.
Pipkins, I
Shut up,
understand.
dumb delegate.
I understand.
Please do not shoot them. We would all die. Please do not shoot them.
We will do our best in all circumstances to act as ethically as possible in accordance to U.S. law of rules of engagement.
Oh God, that means we're screwed.
As I am a representative from the U.S., I can only speak from the U.S.'s perspective. I will
tell my people to die.
As for your rules of engagement, you are able to set, of course, your own standards. In addition to our international law.
Brian, delegate of the Moon.
Yes.
You mentioned that we've kind of spotted where they're staying a little bit, but we haven't been able to make contact.
Correct.
Have we gotten any details on habits or things that they do? Like, how much observation have we actually been able to do of these Homosupra?
It's been somewhat limited as far as how they interact, but they do appear to be somewhat craftsmanship in the sense that they have picked up materials from their surroundings and are crafting items like as if they were in the stone and iron age. Basically, the only explanation that we have is they are starting from scratch. They have not been known to officially, in any documented sense, been able to necessarily steal from us. However, pretty much everybody believes that that is taking place. It's sort of the case where you have somebody who is accused of something and it seems like the case, but there isn't enough concrete proof. As for our observations of them, we've pretty much only been doing tests of flying over them, and they've only almost entirely been in traveling groups whenever we have observed them. So basically, as soon as they detect that we are observing them, they seem to scatter. Basically, of course, with our limited scope, can only follow so many of them at a time. So we've not been able to actually locate an encampment, but they have been known to interact with the environment in the sense of picking up materials which appear to be useful for crafting something. Or basically, but it looks like it'd just be items that would be crafting for their own villages or whatever. So.
And I do have one more follow-up, I think.
Yes, go for it.
Have we... You said that we've yet to be able to obtain a biological sample.
Yes.
Have we been able to identify any remains or potentially anything kind of in that area of, like, do we know what they do with their dead or anything like that?
I believe that is highlighted on this bullet point here because this is a newly found species. It is believed that
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, there's a cult ritual of basically eating their dead, and that would explain why we haven't seen as severe of a drop of wildlife populations in areas. I mean, there is a drop basically because the population has slightly increased, but it would not be the same. If that makes sense, it's like not to the same level that their caloric intake would require. Basically similar with the Native American and the buffalo. A very shocking point of fact that is what they do with their dead, and that is why we seemingly have not been able to acquire a DNA sample.
Sorry, I might be just fully hallucinating.
I'm sorry, please speak your name and the nation that you represent.
Oh, I am, my name is Dylan, and I am a representative of the now defunct news broadcasting network InfoWars.
Okay, thank you.
Is there, you mentioned something about the reproductive habits, like kidnapping people?
Yes, that is believed.
Can you go back to that slide?
This one? So, because they appear to have an extended lifespan, than the sapiens. I mean, that's to be expected if you had an advanced race of humans. But it appears as if, similar to the legends of the Nephilim, with them intermarrying with basically regular humans, that a similar phenomenon is taking place now, which would be an explanatory theory as to how they are able to sustain their population over time.
I understand. And is the belief that the belief that the resulting organisms are supra-humans?
Yes, that's the only logical explanation that we can basically acquire, is that it's believed that they require it's believed that it's used a sapien womb for the sake of growing a supra, and the resulting organism would be a supra. Otherwise, the population would be severely dissolved by this point, if that makes sense. So perhaps there's some kind of like gene domination going on in the reproductive process. That's our current running theory from our geneticist team. But I
believe that's what happened with the Homo sapiens and the one with the big foreheads.
Yes. So it's believed that something like this is probably likely going on, as it would explain pretty much every theory, but no concrete proof has come out yet, because it appears as if they're very good at keeping their actions under wraps. Keep your ring cameras up. Keep recording your backyards. You could use all the data we could get.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Thanks for watching. Go ahead and give us ideas on what we should do next.